Hello, this is Sondra Oster Baras bringing you a few words of Bible from the heart of Biblical Israel. This week's Torah portion is Toldot, and Toldot literally means descendants, and is often used as a word to mean the history or the story of the generations before or after a particular person. And the Torah portion begins, these are the descendants. This is the story of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Isaac. And then we begin, of course, with the story of Isaac himself. And we learn that he and his wife Rebecca are waiting for a child, and they pray to God because she is barren. And lo and behold, Rebecca is pregnant. She reveals she is with child, and she has trouble in the pregnancy because she has this she's not feeling well. She feels like there's a struggle going inside her, and of course she's pregnant with twins. So she goes to seek God, and God indeed speaks to her and gives her quite an amazing prophecy. He says to her, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 separate peoples shall issue from your body. 1 people or 1 nation will be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. Okay, and this, of course, is a prophecy referring to the 2 children, 2 babies in her womb who will become Jacob and Esau. And we know that there will be a struggle between the 2 of them. And indeed, even though Jacob is the younger one, Esau is the one who was actually born first, it is Jacob who will inherit the blessings of Abraham and the promises that God made to Abraham and Isaac. And it is through Jacob that the nation of Israel will be born, rather than through Esau. Now, if we think about what we know about these 2 brothers after they are born, we learn that just further on again in the beginning of the Torah portion, in verse 27, we learn the boys grew up. Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the outdoors, but Jacob was a mild man. Actually, the Hebrew there says ishtam, a pure man or an innocent man, and he dwelled in tents. Okay? Dwelled in tents. And there's been many interpretations to this, and I would say that there's no question when we talk about Esau, we know the kind of guy he is. He's a hunter. He's out there. He's hunting. He's killing. He's hunting animals. He's a wild man. He's a strong man. Okay, he's not fearful. This is his profile. What does it mean, though, that Jacob is an innocent man or a simple man or a mild man, and he stays in tents? He dwells in tents. Well, first of all, it means he hangs around the house. Okay, he hangs around. He's not seeking enemies, and he's not hunting for food. He's a calm kind of guy. He's a quiet kind of guy. He's probably not as strong or not as big as Esau. And classic Jewish interpretation is also that he was more of a thinker. He was more of a studier. We know, of course, that Jacob was the one who believed in God, and he inherited that faith from Abraham and Isaac. And so he was contemplating God. He was studying. He was thinking. He may have been a shepherd, okay, the person who dwells in tents. Typically in biblical times, that means he was a shepherd. He would follow the sheep, pitch his tent somewhere, near where he was taking the sheep to graze. And the shepherds, of course, are the traditional occupation of Abraham, Isaac less so, Jacob, certainly, Jacob's sons. We know they were shepherds. King David was a shepherd. And this profession, this shepherd profession, is also very conducive to a person who wants to think, who it's very easy to connect to God. For example, if you're out in the field and all you're doing all day is watching your sheep and making sure they're getting from place to place, it is a completely different personality from the Esau the hunter, the aggressor, the person who is prone to violence, perhaps. And it is these 2 different paradigms, these 2 personalities that, of course, will follow these 2 brothers, but way beyond these 2 brothers. These 2 brothers, the Jacob and Esau, becomes a model for Israel and the nations. Put it this way, the negative side of Israel and the nations. And for centuries, as Jews faced anti-Semitism, mostly in Europe, and not only, Israel would look at themselves as the Jacob, the innocent, the quiet, the weaker brother who was being persecuted by the violent, big, strong hunter Esau. Esau became the model for the tough hooligan, the anti-Semite, the person who was persecuting the Jewish people. And the fact that in this prophecy we have that in the end it is the older who will serve the younger. And or you could say Rav, the older, but it's not just the older, it could be the greater, the more powerful, the bigger. And this idea of the weak, the smaller, ending up prevailing, of course, is a very important theme for the nation of Israel throughout the Bible and beyond. Even the Hanukkah story, for example, one of the themes of the Hanukkah story is this tiny little band of Jews in Judea end up defeating the Syrian Greeks and standing for what they believe in. And again, we have this idea of the small defeating the powerful and the great. And so this becomes a theme that follows the Jewish people throughout. We, the Jewish people, and of course for us here in Israel, that has always been something so important. Or David versus Goliath, of course, is a more well-known example. But for us in Israel today, we're a tiny nation, okay? A tiny nation that we never were able to compete with our enemies in terms of physical strength, in terms of numbers, in terms of even the numbers of weapons, or, typically in a 6-day war, for example, we were so outnumbered it was ridiculous. And yet the nation of Israel was able to prevail, and able to prevail in a stunning way, because we were a nation of thinkers. We came up with creative solutions. We were able to we were not afraid, or maybe we didn't allow the superior power to intimidate us, or maybe almost intimidate us. But I would say the most important thing we had on our hand is our faith in God, and the fact that God had chosen us and was standing behind us. So here we are, Jacob and Esau, and yet we know that ultimately it is the more powerful that will serve the weaker and the smaller. Jacob will prevail. Have a great weekend. Shabbat Shalom.
I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'd like to be sure you're getting all of our video content. So just click on the subscribe button below, as well as on the notification bell, and that way you will have easy access to all our material. We look forward to staying in touch with you. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.